Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 74 of Percussion Discussion. Before we get started, please check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, our world famous YouTube channel. Please give us a subscribe if you can. It only takes a second. It really helps us. If you prefer to listen on the go, all of our conversations are available in podcast form. You can download these from Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if that's your thing, you know what to do. And if you can find a few seconds just to leave us a short review, it all helps. So thanks for that. On to today's guest. We're firmly back in the Legends Lounge again. Simply one of the most recorded drummers in history. He has a most incredible groove. He literally has metronomic time and a great feel. He's played on such iconic songs as Michael Jackson's Rock With You, Stevie Winwood's Higher Love. The list goes on and on. Lionel Richie, Whitney Houston. It's just incredible. He's the favorite drummer of the legendary Quincy Jones. What more is there to say? It gives me incredible, and I mean incredible, pleasure to welcome the wonderful John J.R. Robinson.
Yeah.
JR, so thank you so much for doing this. It's very kind of you.
Hey, and again, it's my honor. You know what we do is it's not self-centered. It's about promoting education and helping younger kids figure stuff out. And I've been very blessed to kind of pave the road.
Absolutely.
So it's an honor.
Well, hey, it's great to have you here, and I appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody who watches this will appreciate it as well. So thank you very much. Indeed.
My honor.
Now then, obviously we're kind of, I'm saying we're at the end of this really strange 2 years. I hope we're at the end of it. Has it affected you? Obviously, if gig wise, it's going to have affected you a lot, but recording wise, have you managed to keep going through it?
It's interesting. Even both of those things that really, the live gigs, when I tour with David Foster, or I'll do these, high profile benefits, or maybe there may be some generic sessions that would have randomly come in Hollywood, but I have the whole studio here. But, let's just talk about David Foster. We have postponed and or canceled hundreds of gigs. And then once you're in a specific rotation in the theaters or the clubs, or not clubs, we don't play clubs, but theaters or live venues, you maintain that order, and you're fighting against other world artists that are touring with you, the same kind of caliber, and so when the gigs get rescheduled, then they'll look at that and they'll go, oh shit, well, this one's got to go. But these are all going to come out. That's why I was just telling my manager Ryan, we're doing a makeup gig. We're going to Vegas tomorrow to play the Win. And that's going to be the beginning of a residency starting in April,
right?
On and off residency. But we had a whole bunch, like 9 gigs on this leg, all got postponed again. So COVID, there was like 3 different tours postponed during COVID, and it was rough. To answer your other questions, because I had the studio and a lot of people couldn't do anything, I was getting just bombarded with people's sessions.
Yeah.
And so, keeping, the Pro Tools chops up and multiple kits being recorded, it was good. I had 4 physical illnesses during the COVID year, which I don't know if we'll get into. So other than that, I'm glad it's 21. And what year are we in now? 22. God, where did 21 go? It was like kind of like Vegas 21. Anyway.
So you brought something up there about your own studio. Now, do you engineer yourself there, or do you have somebody who comes in?
What I've done is my engineer is a guy named Steve Sykes, who is a world-renowned engineer, kind of under the Al Schmidt moniker, and God bless Al. And Steve and I have both, when I was with Yamaha Artist, which was 30 years, I am, of course, now a DW artist. But I managed to, I guess I could probably, there. I have there's a DM 2000 VCM console, which is all decked out with digital to analog, all interfaces in the back.
Sure.
And I'm going to approach those guys. So to learn the IOs on a digital console is a bitch.
Yes.
And I mean, it is like, I mean, it's not just the ends, it's the outs, and it's the routing and all that stuff. So I pride myself to know it okay, but Steve has this same console in his studio where he mixes only, and I track only. So he has come here and set different scenarios up for me. Like, let's say I'm going to do a brush thing.
Yeah.
So I can hit a different patch and it raises all the mic inputs.
So it's kind of presets for what you need.
Presets, and then I'll go in and I'll tweak what I need to do.
Yeah.
Or if I'm doing like a rudimental forest snare drum thing with Grand Casa and Piatti, you know, I'll run different levels and do, you know, it just depends on what I'm doing. But the general setup is a big fat DW rock kit in the other room. And then I'll, you know, go in and out of snare drums basically, and cymbals, and to determine what works best for the song.
And are you happier working from your home studio, or would you rather be somewhere else? Is there, you know, you've got the time, haven't you? You've got many takes.
Well, I mean, I'd love to come over by you, and you know, and you know, maybe Abbey Road would be good.
It's a bit far for me, but yeah.
I mean, that is a bit far, but it's not that far.
No.
What was the name of that coal that place in Wales? It's it was a coal mining train station in downtown Cardiff.
Oh gosh.
I did a clinic there years ago, and I mean, I would record in that room. It's like a rock and roll room.
Yeah.
But I answer your question. I like being home recording because I can control, and I'm producing now too, so I can control things I need. You know, I just did a Paul Anka session this last week, and however, we just went out to East West, and all of us cut this thing, and was recorded for a movie about Charlie Fox, you know, the great songwriter, and it was fantastic. So, I mean, I will go out, but you know, you always go do it. You're wearing the thing, and I hate wearing that thing when I play. Like tomorrow night when we're in Vegas playing, none of us will wear those masks.
No, it's not nice, is it?
I like it at home.
Yeah. Do you find yourself you're more particular when you're recording from home, or do you get the same? Do you give the same wherever, you know?
I'm more particular out of the home because I'm my worst or best enemy. You know, I don't know what it is. You know, I mean, if somebody gives me something, and of course, if it's not terrible, because, you know, we used to call it polishing a turd if it was really bad. And, but, you know, if it's an okay song and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to try this and that, or then after that, I'm going to come in here because I'm a keyboard player. So I'll come in here and play keyboards. And there's some people send me stuff that is, I got to play synth bass. I got to play piano. Because I don't like what they're sending me. Yeah. So I'll basically produce for people. But I'm pretty critical. And you know, if I hear something with my time is not right, which is, you heard it. You know, nobody's perfect.
Well, and pretty close.
You know, well, but you know, there's things that are moving, and it's not just me. So you know, or some people will send me a damn track, and it's like 40 ticks off, and it's like off, and I go, oh my God. And they're novices. They just don't know what they're doing. So that, you got to learn about engineering and Pro Tools skills. Yeah.
That must be frustrating if you get something that's not right. That's, you know, what can you do to that? So you have to fix it. Fix it.
If they're not paying you very much, you call them and say, I'm not doing this unless you straighten it out. Or B, I got to straighten this stuff out, you know, and normally I'm a pretty nice guy when it comes to that. So.
But the thing is, it's your name on the line, isn't it? You know, they're going to be like, hey, look, we've got JR on drums. Well, why is it kind of wandering about a little bit? You know,
right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, Yeah, you know what? I always look at, back when I kind of became famous, when we were all, emulating Harvey and Billy Cobham and Steve Gadd and all these earlier session drummers, and you think about, and then all of us, we were all with Yamaha for all those years, and all of us were doing the clinics together, and what we've been telling all these young drummers all these years now has come full circle, and these young drummers and young people think they can be just producers, with an iPhone. And in reality, man, they need to learn the ropes. They need to learn things. They need to know what putting 16 track heads on a 24 track machine does, and why did we do that?
Yeah.
Listen, I could go on for 100 hours here. I'm gonna have coffee.
You have your coffee. Do you know what? I want to bring up an album that you played on, which perhaps is overlooked a little bit. You've done one or two, and I'm a huge fan of this lady. I think one of the best voices ever, Natalie Cole. I think you did a couple of tracks on it, and the Stardust album. I think that was possibly one of the first times I looked at track listings and I was like, who played on this? Because you were keeping good company there with Harold Jones playing on quite a few of the tracks.
Yes.
I mean, I bet that was a great experience, wasn't it?
And I don't know if that was, I don't think that was my first Natalie record. I mean, I probably
no, but that's the first album that I kind of checked, and I was like, yeah, because you did Love Letters, didn't you? And I can't remember the other track.
I did a bunch, and it's at the point now where I can't totally remember. Yeah. So we've hired people to do that now. But Natalie was always very dear with me, and her and I were like brother and sister together. And I mean, there was a session, I don't know what it was for, and I came in and hugging and kissing and shit, and because her and Chaka were really close, so it was always just one big family. But she brought her son. And he was a little shit in those days. And she goes, JR, do we just mind bringing him back behind the drums? And I go, okay. And I set him on the throne, and he grabs a pair of sticks and starts doing his stupid crap. Then he gets out off the throne and takes all my drumsticks and throws them all across the studio. All of them. There was 25 different pair of shit flying everywhere. And Natalie didn't discipline him. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to spank your ass. And I didn't because, I yelled at him really hard. And then she finally goes, go pick all those up and bring them back. So that's kind of what I remembered that. But she was great. She was with us with David at the end.
Oh, really?
Touring with us. And we were in Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a beautiful voice, and comes over as a beautiful person as well, I have to say.
Oh, God. And could swing.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Jeez.
Yeah, I love that album. I still do today. I think, it was Harold Jones, Harvey Mason. There was a few players on that one. And
right.
And yourself.
It depended on the producer, I think, whoever was producing what tracks. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But just incredible stuff. I mean, obviously, you mentioned David Foster already, and for anybody who's seen the Netflix documentary, your name appears. What a name to be associated with from both sides, from him to you to him. It's been a long time, hasn't it, with you and David?
It's a long time. I'm in that movie.
Yes.
Real quick. A lot of things I voiced on camera did not make it to camera. It had to do with the wives and things, but they did use me as the Chicago liaison.
Right.
Because I'm very good friends with that band from the beginning, and Hawk was obviously a writer with Chicago. But David and I go back to a Bill Champlin record called Runaway in 1981.
Yeah.
And it's still a record today that holds up. Umberto Gatica was the engineer, and I think Jeff did half the record. I did the other half. And there's a song in there called Satisfaction. It's very hip, very, very hip, even to this day. It's a very, very cool song.
But you tour with him. You're saying before you do lots of corporates and what have you with him, and what kind of material do you do? Do you do songs he's written, or just?
Yeah, the new version of this. I've been touring with David since '95.
Yeah.
And it was right after Streisand, right after we started with Streisand in '93.
Yeah.
So I was kind of going between both. And then we put Rufus and Chaka back together in 2001. But David now it's an intimate night with David Foster.
Yeah.
So he'll bring up 3 or 4 singers, and now he's got Catherine, his wife, who is now part of the show if indeed she's dragging the baby around or she's not doing something with Broadway or television or movies. So she's really quite busy.
Yeah.
But it's just extra frosting when she comes up. And it's almost like we've got a really powerful trio. There are tracks on tape, and then we've got these 4 unbelievable singers, and that's kind of what it is. It's David's world, a way of showcasing his songs through, for example, Shalea will sing the Whitney stuff.
Yeah. And
she sang at the Rams game last night, or whatever that was. She's just really fantastic and signed with Quincy. And then Pia Toscano is this other just beautiful kind of American Italian girl who sings with Andrea Bocelli. So he's got this mix of this great stuff.
Yeah.
And this other guy, Fernando Varela, is a Puerto Rican dude who can sing operatic or big pop or stuff. So he has his, because he's written a song called The Prayer, for example. So, who Andrea sang it originally. So he needs to have that covered. And he always asked me, why are you with me? He said, you could have been with the Stones. I go, well, I probably could have if I had gotten all fucked up with Keith, but I didn't. So I go, well, I probably would have liked to do the Stones gig, but I go, I like playing your music. There's something about, your music is great.
Yeah.
And it's satisfying. And I don't have to have a heart attack playing every song. I can understand what Steve Gadd feels by doing certain gigs he does, because he doesn't have to overextend or overachieve, but he just has to be himself.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting that you say that. And I understand that. And you can it's something you can enjoy as well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not full time, it's, okay. I'm very blessed with that.
And the man's a genius, isn't he? Let's be honest.
He's hardcore. I mean, I'm very gracious to work with the 2 world's greatest producers, is Quincy Jones and David Foster.
I mean, I know David cites you as one of his favorites. I'm sure you are the favorite, really, but with Quincy, you're the main man. That's that.
Well, yeah, but he's like kind of retired into mogul world, I mean, he's 88. God bless him. And the last time we toured was, golly, 014, 013, something like that. So he's kind of, sitting back, and he's getting old.
Yeah.
And, we talk about putting the band together, Greg Fillinganes and I, and maybe Jerry Hay, and it's just, we don't know yet what will happen, because that book is in a vault.
Yes.
And that book is just fantastic, which includes Sinatra stuff,
Wow, that's just stuff. So I'm guessing your first meeting with Quincy, would that have been off the wall?
No, I met him. Well, musically, yes.
Yeah.
I met him, which was off the wall was, well, it started from Rufus. We did a record called Numbers on ABC Dunhill in 1978, which was my first record with Rufus, but it was no Chaka. And Quincy listened to that and agreed to use me because I hadn't been a famous studio drummer yet. And because he liked me because I had gone to Berkeley. He goes, I went to Berkeley. And I go, well, yeah, you went when it was Schillinger House. But yes, we went to Berkeley, and he always loved that. But I met Quincy at a musical event in downtown LA. It was called the Orchestra. Mm-hmm. And I was invited by our management, Fitzgerald Hartley, to sit right by him. And they kind of put us together. And that was it. We got on, and I got the call. So it was, and then I kept getting the call. So it was good.
That's quite a compliment, isn't it? You'd have been what, 20, 23, 24,
20,
I guess.
23 and 24.
You know, and not obviously with the Rufus thing, you were known, but not to the extent of many other session drummers around at the time.
Right.
And you got that gig, and it was a hell of a band, wasn't it? On that, some amazing musicians.
Yeah, with Louis Johnson. Holy shit! I mean, just still to this day, everybody just thinks he's a slap bass player with no, it's like just high end and low end.
Yeah,
those Music Man basses,
Yeah.
But no, he played with his finger in pocket better than maybe 95% of them.
Yeah. Wow.
And his time he was just, kind of wacko, God bless you, Louis.
Well, of that album, I mean, you've talked about a couple of songs in particular, probably every interview you do, and we all know what they are with the signature fill and stuff. And it's pointless talking about that because it's been talked about so many times. But
thank you.
My favorite song is "Get on the Floor" on the album. I love the song. It's such a great,
It's a great song. I think, was that Michael and Lewis wrote that?
I think you're right. Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah. So it was a little diversion from, Rod Temperton,
yes.
Trying to write with a pro writer or compete with a pro writer. And I watched it go down, and we just went out and had some fun, and that's the way it was.
So, as far as when you played these tracks, were you kind of making it up on the spot? Was it just see what happens, or did you add, were you writing stuff out, or how did it work?
You know what? I wish that if I did write stuff out, it was so long ago, I don't have it, which really was a drag. And there was nobody doing orchestrations or charts. If it was a Rod tune, Rod was incredibly simplistic, and he would boom, 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 boom. He would sing the bass part to the bass player, just kept singing it to him. Then, yes. And then he'd walk over to the guitar player and he goes, got it, whatever it was, and then make the guitar player memorize that, whichever of the four there were, starting with David Williams.
Yes.
And then you go to the keyboard player, whether it be Greg or Hawk, and just play. And Hawk just said, when we did Rock With You, Hawk just played he goes, I just want a Fender Rhodes with nothing, a clean Rhodes. That's all he wanted. And so then, if Rod were to come to me and he'd say things to me, but he basically gave me free reign. So when it come to the other songs, like the David song, which was ironic, is it's the Falling in Love, him and Carol Bayer Sager. It was, it was just a pop tune. It wasn't even a hit.
Yeah.
And I go, all right, I'm just going to do this. And then, because that's what it was. And then there was the Paul McCartney song called Girlfriend, which again wasn't a hit. And it might have been a hit, but it really wasn't a hit. And it's like, what else can you do to this thing? But just, play kind of fluffy eighth notes. Yeah. But then when it got to the dance tunes, like Working Day and Night, whoo, that shit was hard. Yeah. But Mike and I always made joke of, we need to, collect wine bottles and do different pitches of these real high pitch instruments. And so we'd always bring wine bottles in, and Bruce Swedeen finally gave us our shot to do it and go in and play wine bottles together. So I'll tell this story. I tell it in my seminars and stuff. So Swedeen goes, big Swedish guy. Hey, he talks like that. And God bless him. And he goes, all right, you two, it's time for you guys to do your thing. So I go, Mike and I grab our wine bottles, and we go into this room, and it's kind of in the afternoon, and it's surreal, and there's sun rays coming through the window, and I'm sitting opposite a mic with Michael Jackson, and all of a sudden it goes, whatever it is, and we're playing these two parts, and it's great. And about 1/3 into it, my wine bottle breaks and it shatters all over my arm. And I'm going, oh, fuck. And all of a sudden I see Michael come over and start picking the glass out of my sweaty arm, which, by the way, it's like an NFL football play. This shit happened so quick. I'm like, is this really happening? And all of a sudden, but we're not playing. And then the talkback goes down and Sweeting goes, hey, what are you two guys doing in there? Which was really weird for him to even say that. And I go, well, the bottle broke over my arm and Michael's picking the glass out of it. He goes, well, hurry up, man, and get another bottle. We got to finish this overdub. And so that was it. And it was my days then are picking glass out of my arm.
So which song did the bottles feature in then, JR?
Huh?
Which track?
Working Day and Night.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to listen to that then. Have a re-listen.
There's obviously a punch in there somewhere.
Oh dear. So you would you fill these bottles with water to get a pitch, or would you? They were just
yeah, trying to find and I just did an overdub for this Australian artist this last week named Bradley McCaw. Really good stuff. And I go, this thing needs this bottle. So I go, and I'm not married anymore, but I used to have a wedding ring on. So it used to give me the bounce effect back. Oh. So I had to borrow one of Nathan East's rings and I put it on my finger so I could do it. It was kind of like, okay, I think I need to get some pimp ring or something.
So you should get some signature bottles of wine now, the JR Chardonnay or whatever.
Boy, that would be Ryan. Yeah, hopefully my J.R. Robinson experience will be playing some wineries.
Yes, let's talk about that. All
right. I segued it.
Yes, it was nice.
Well, again, COVID, what did we all do? I mean, you were probably playing and maybe doing other journalism things and
doing lots of these.
And I'm doing like as different things as possible, and then also trying to get healthy because I had some issues. But I go, I gotta play, man. I play, I was out with Lorber and Jimmy Haslip and doing like that really syncopated 16th note funk, and then I'm playing this other stuff and just doing a bunch of different things. But I go, I really want to. What we need to do is highlight these hits that I've immortalized, kind of, and so I put together a band, but it's out of Omaha, Nebraska. And they're just younger, unbelievable, great players, including this singer named Allison Nash. And ironically, the band is kind of like a Rufus Chaka clone of his personnel and ethnicity.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then we got together and then we did this gig and we recorded it. And we're in the middle of editing it and getting some sizzle out of it. And, we'll do All Night Long. We'll do Slow Hand. We'll do Higher Love, which is incredibly difficult to do live. We'll do rock. We'll do Rock with You. We'll do Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. We'll do Aint Nobody. We'll do, and then I'll do some of my funk stuff, which I like, like some Herbie stuff. Yeah. So, and everybody seems to really dig it. So and right now we're going to stay with the J.R. Robinson experience. I mean, I'm not going to light the drum set on fire like Monterey.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah.
Maybe I should. John Good would be pissed, but
I'll bet. So in some respects, it's like your version of the David Foster thing, songs you've played on.
Yeah, songs I played on, and I haven't incorporated co-writing or written songs yet.
Yeah.
But that may happen, and there's like other things that I still want to do. Like there was some great shit out of 69 to 73 that kind of changed my heart a little bit with rock and roll. Yeah. So I mean, you never know, and as struggling as the Beatles are, maybe there's a Beatles song in there somewhere too. So
you might find one. There's enough to choose from.
I'm still getting through that show, by the way.
Oh, it's a long show, isn't it? It's a lot.
Oh my God.
That's not one sitting, that is it?
No, it's like 10.
Yeah.
It's like 10 sitting.
I can't concentrate enough to do it all in one. I have to break it into segments,
I am going to give props to Ringo, though, because I'm in the first third of it, and he's keeping his mouth shut, but he's listening with gigantic ears. That's really part of a drummer's role.
Yes.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Look, let's talk about hands for drummers. This is something that I've heard about recently that you're involved with. It's your thing. So
Yeah.
tell us about that, JR.
Again, COVID came up with idea. Is this idea going to work? I've always wanted a foundation. How do you even go about getting a foundation? What do you do? Which, again, living in California, it's like it's really difficult to get anything accomplished here. But so I did it, and it's called a 501c. And basically, what it does is it helps underprivileged musicians. We could be in an inner city. It could be, in the Midwest. It could be in programs where the music is not your they're not focusing on music. So Hawk Walensky, my partner, was given this young kid named Daniel Amaya, or his stage name is Mizda Bones.
Okay.
And he is a quadriplegic, maybe in his late 20s. I'm not sure how old he is. Producer, songwriter who writes acid rock. And I'm going, I didn't even know what the hell that was. And I mean, Nico and I are really close. So I listen to their music and I go, their shit sounds like Tie a Yellow Ribbon compared to this guy. and I'm going, okay, let me listen to it. And the BPMs were, the minimum is 170 to 190. It's like, fuck, I'm going to have a heart attack just listening to the first day of bars. And so I got involved with him, and then Hawk helped fund him a spaceship around him. So when you guys look at Mizda Bones and help support us, he's already got his thing going. I mean, his thing is on fire, but I've done 3 songs with him, which were very interesting to play that style. And that's kind of you'll see it on Facebook or whatever, but I don't know if I'll re-release any of that. But what we're doing is we're starting out helping him, and because it was just such an obvious play there. And people can donate. It's handsfordrummers.org. And what we'll do is we'll tap into certain companies that help me. And if we'll eventually, as this thing gets off the ground, this thing's going to take a good 2 solid years to get wheels.
Sure.
And but there's so many things to support these days. But if I'm going into an inner city and I see this talent, but the kid has nothing, we've got to help them.
Yeah. And
so that's what we do.
That sounds an amazing thing, and good on you for doing it. And there's many people who talk about doing these things but never actually get around to doing them. So it's hard.
Yeah. There's a lot of organizational things, and then red tape, a lot of red tape.
Well, incredible. Good.
Thank you.
Good for you, sir. Now, also, I didn't realize, but you've done some movie soundtracks in the past. Well, you've done but I believe you've just done another one. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, obviously, with all the records I played on, which quite possibly, if you look at the world, it's probably more than anybody.
Yes.
With weird territories like Thailand and Africa and northern Canada. But and I've played on a lot of movie soundtracks. I mean, thousands. And but I met a beautiful film director named Danny Gold, and he's associated with the great producer George Shapiro from Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. And a couple of years ago, I got a call to be in a film that he was doing with Dave Grusin, mm-hmm. On film with Dave Grusin, and then also on film with Dick Van Dyke.
Wow.
And it was fantastic. And then that led in to 2 years ago, Tom Scott, myself, and Nathan East split a movie called If You're Not in the Obit, Eat Breakfast with Carl Reiner. And it was about these old people from like late 70s to 104 who are active.
Yeah.
And so I wrote about a third of that score, and that was my first movie. Mm-hmm. And then this last year, I did about one half of this movie, and it's called the Super Bob Einstein story. It was about Super Dave Osborne, and Bob Einstein is Albert Brooks's brother. He was kind of a tall, dry comedian that started out on the Smothers Brothers show, went into the Cher, and then ended up on the Larry David show on HBO, and then he passed away in 2019. But he was incredibly funny, and it's on HBO now. It's called the Super Bob, or I think it's called the Super Bob Einstein story. I think that's what it's called. Cool. And his name was Bob Einstein, ironically, but he went as Super Dave Osborne. He was always on the Tonight Show. He was always all over the world doing these weird, stupid stunts. And but it gave me, and they put their trust in me even more, because like right when the movie starts, I'm on the first two cues coming out of the gates, and at the end, after the Bare Naked Ladies, then they finish with my New Orleans cue. Right. So I did about 15, 16 cues in that film. So it's good. It's like a new thing.
Yeah. I mean, do you, as a drummer, and you know, do you have kind of a percussive approach to writing music, or do you go for the melody? It's one of those things I've often wondered. You know, what comes first?
It depends. I mean, they'll give us a like a temp idea. Mm-hmm. So I'll listen to their temp idea and see if it works. Obviously, you can't use it because it's copywritten. So generally, when I write, I do not write from the drum perspective.
Okay.
Which is very, however, I think I'm going to start writing more. I would say when Phil Collins wrote, I could be wrong, but it surely sounds like he wrote from a melodic perspective, but was always drum based or machine programmed. Yeah. And those two kind of went hand in hand. I don't really think of a groove. I think of the piano part first.
Interesting.
So that's kind of how I write.
That's really fascinating. I've often wondered, you know, you often think you're sitting at the kit, right? Well, this will work with this, and then I'll put some chords over it, and well, there we go. That's good. It's good to know.
Well, but you know, in the next one, I'm thinking of you know, more of a rock and roll approach, doing it that way. Because then what happens is that I'll plug in the Strat and I suck. I mean, I'm okay, but I still suck. You know, with the tonality, you know, it's like.
So you're not going to give us a quick demonstration on guitar then at the moment?
Sure, fuck yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah, but you know what? I am not plugged in.
Oh, that's all right.
And it's probably not in tune. That's all you're getting.
All right. Hey, that's plenty for me. I never thought I'd see the day when I was sitting in my little drum room with JR serenading me on guitar.
And I'll play bass, and I'll play spoons, and I'll do this now.
Dreams do come true. No wine bottles in there, then. Not empty.
There was. It's out in the. It's in the car.
In the car. That sounds.
No, I had it in the pert case.
Okay. Oh, superb. Well, look, JR, this has been an absolute joy. It really has.
Thanks, Matty.
And I can't thank you enough for giving up the time. I mean, you know, the most inspirational of drummers and musicians. You know, you've played on everything, and I have to say, before we go, I can usually spot your playing from the hi-hats alone. Just from it's almost a signature touch you have on those things, and you can hear it on so many tracks, especially when you play those lovely 16ths, and it's just something that's, you know, it's always there, and something I love listening to. So, you know, hopefully we'll see you over in the UK in the near future. Fingers crossed. COVID.
Man, I want to come back. I mean, every time I come over, everybody treats me just as if I'm here at home, you know, and I've always, maybe because of a lot of my roots are from there, and I can hold my pints with you guys, so it's good.
Well, look, I shall look forward to that. Thanks, JR. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Matty. Thanks, Maddie. And Ryan will give you my email, and all the best to everybody there, and just keep the groove.
Thank you. Thank you very much.